Well, something we found out from a person who works with persecuted Christians, he said that actually many have a very difficult time. You know, the biographies, the stories that come out are maybe the more victorious, stronger ones, but there are many stories that are really difficult. And so Andrew's saying, look, I really struggled, and there are going to be other people who are weak like me, and they need to hear that the Lord can pull us through. So he made that commitment to be very open and honest.
Well,
and
I'm
I
one
think
of those people.
that is what is spoken to people. That's what people can relate to.
So I read those same biographies, and they're some of my heroes. And some of them I think were just much stronger than I am.
Maybe
And they didn't struggle the same. But maybe some of them had struggles that their biographers didn't talk about. And so those biographies formed my expectation of what my struggles would be like. And I thought I was going to have a real sense of joy, strength, even though I would have grief and it would be difficult, that I would have a sense of God's grace just enveloping me. And one of the things that surprised me, when Paul says, your grace is sufficient for me, I thought, well, no, it isn't. It doesn't feel that way. Now, I know that I had a lot of grace as I look back especially, but it was mostly an unfelt grace. And so some of the things that I had read they formed my expectations in a way that that I did not experience in the end. One of the things I told Noreen often is God made a mistake. He got the wrong man for this. I cannot do it. And I did come to think, no, I think maybe you did choose the right man because you wanted a weak man who in spite of weakness would be faithful and endure, and in that way be an encouragement to other weak people, as something similar to what Noreen mentioned. So I don't have a problem. I made a commitment to the Lord that I would be very open about my struggles. But one of the reasons I can do that is because I am very confident in His love for me, so I'm not embarrassed to talk about my weaknesses. Yeah. And it took me a long time that was a journey I was on before I went into prison, is just learning sonship, how to live as a son of God and be so confident in His love that I don't have to protect myself with a mask. No, I'm strong, I'm really victorious. I don't have to do that. But I also want to say that I did struggle, I was weak, and I was broken. But there was a rebuilding process that took place so that He did bring me out stronger in the end.
And that rebuilding process, you're saying, took place in that time in prison, or you're saying after?
No, it took part in. I would say that the first year, as a generalization, the first year I was especially broken. And in the second year, it was still very difficult, but there was an upward trajectory. And basically, my prison was like a roller coaster of trying to get to a point where I could, with my will, submit to God, my future to God, and ask for His will to be done and not mine. And during the first period, the first year, it was really hard to say that. I just really struggled to say that. And when I'd get to that point, then something would happen that would knock me down, and I'd go into a worse situation than I was before. It kept getting worse and worse. And it took me, I eventually crawl back to that point of submission and get knocked down again. My second year, I more consistently stayed at that point of submission. And that was a big difference. So I was able to begin to receive from God more than the first year and cooperate with that.